I want to thank everyone, particularly the association, for holding this tonight, and I want to thank everyone here for really taking an active interest in the democratic process that we enjoy here in Canada. After 30 years serving as an elected public school board trustee, I honestly thought I had my fill of politics. I had all I could take. But the reputation and the track record of the three major parties in this country changed all that. I wasn't going to run, but I was arm twisted by the People's Party. And I was interested because they put Canadians first. Every policy, every platform is based on Canadians coming first. And just as an aside, I do want to put this out there right now. To the People's Party of Canada, a Canadian is a person who has Canadian citizenship. They could be from the Sudan, they could be from Ethiopia, they could be from anywhere in the world, Syria, Afghanistan. If they're Canadian, they're Canadian. Instead of talking too much about the policies and platforms, because I'm sure the questions are going to come from the floor, I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself. With 30 years on the school board, I was honored to be chair of the board for 2 years in Canada's 8th largest school board. So I do have a little bit of experience when it comes to employees, it comes to budgets, and it comes to dealing with people in the public. I was also honored to win the highest award available to any trustee in the province of Ontario, the Dr. Harry Pagan Award of Merit, for the work that I've done with disadvantaged people, with students, and with families suffering with disabilities. Because of my work with disabilities and special education, I served a 6-year term with a cabinet appointment to the Minister's Advisory Council on Special Education. Further on from my work as a professional, I was also given a cabinet appointment a few years ago to write the standards for the Accessibility Standards Act of Ontario. So I have that experience. I'm known as a fierce, outspoken advocate for people with challenges, for people with disabilities. The other thing I wanted to talk about was my experience and background when it comes to international affairs. I have hosted 28 youth exchange students, international exchange students, and they comprised of Muslim, Buddhist, Jehovah's Witness, Roman Catholic, and a communist. So I do have, and by the way, I traveled to the Middle East and to Japan to attend weddings. So you might say that I am vitally and emotionally interested in world peace and understanding. Thank you. The disadvantage I have, and I'll be upfront about this, is my invitation to be here tonight only arrived Monday night, so I haven't had an opportunity to look at these questions. However, that being said, my response to that question is that I'm not a climate expert. We've been misunderstood in terms of our policy. We believe that there is climate change. I mean, obviously, everyone knows that there is climate change. I've been trying to do my own research, trying to read both sides of this issue, because you can get emotionally charged on the issue, no matter which side of it you're on. What I found was that 10,000 years ago, there was an ice age. That was climate change. Did you know that the Sahara Desert was actually a lush land? How did it become a desert? It was climate change. Climate change is a natural phenomenon. What we are interested in, however, is that we can have an influence on the things that happen in that climate change. And one of the things that the People's Party would be doing is coming down hard on the polluters, the heavy polluters. We would also start investing a little bit in the recycling programs that we already have that aren't always followed. we have to look after ourselves. We have to look after Canadians. We have to make sure our Indigenous people have clean water. And how do we do that? We can't solve the world's problems. We only take up 1.6% of the pollution in this world. But we can do our best to solve our own problems right here in Canada. Thank you. Probably I'm going to be one of the first ones to benefit from this, so I'm all in. The seniors are a much maligned group, as are people that have a disability or have challenges or live with those challenges. One of the things that the People's Party would intend to do is we are going to scrap, or we would scrap, the equalization payments to provinces. Ontario this year, I believe, Mr. Tonzik can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe we don't get any at all this year, the equalization payments to the provinces. But we are also going to put the money more in the hands of the province. And I know there's been a lot of discussion about Mr. Ford. However, the provinces can deal with issues such as when a senior goes into a home, their money is automatically taken by that home in order to pay for their stay. And so what we would like to do is work with the government, the Ontario government or whatever government across the country, to make sure that that is either reduced substantially, and that's picked up through transfer payments, or they pay nothing. And as I mentioned before, and I can have this debate with Nicholas all night, somebody has to pay for socializing. Somebody's paying for it. So it could be you, or it could be everyone across the country. I prefer that everyone in the country share and pay our equal share. But we do have to look after our seniors, and that is something that is very important to me. In fact, that was on my brochure before it became a policy of our party. Okay. The order, and not necessarily in any particular order, but the order that I will address this is similar to others, reducing taxes, income taxes, going to 2 brackets instead of the multiple brackets that we now have, and raising the income tax exemption to $58,000. But one of the most immediate things that we would do is we would immediately scrap the supply management system. That is similar to a cartel, and it only affects 10% of the farmers in this nation. If it were eliminated, it would reduce your cost in the grocery stores on all dairy products. Very, very shortly. The next thing we do is, and we're not going to promise a lot of freebies, because as we all know, if you're grown up and you have a family, and I'm sure Ms. Ratanzi knows this, anything that we give, someone has to pay for it. You have to pay for it. So free dental is nice, all these other things are nice, but somebody has got to pay for it. One of the other things is to reduce our future generations' debt. We have to try to make sure that we are not responsible for passing on unending deficits to our grandchildren and their children. So those are very important things. And one thing that may not mean a lot to a lot of you, personally, but we will also repeal the act that changed the pensions for our veterans. Some of our veterans, particularly those that are maybe at Sunnybrook, they can't even afford to survive because their pensions were literally taken away from them. We will repeal that, and we will pay them, we will take the money that they were paid as a buyout and use that as a future installment, so they won't lose any money on their pensions. Well, once again, I'm going to show my age. I was always taught that going into debt is not a good thing to do. And I would just like to remind people that in 2015, the Prime Minister promised, he didn't predict, he promised that he would eliminate the deficit by the end of their term. Well, that didn't happen, as you probably know. It's, what, 19.8 or $19.9 billion. And now he's forecasting a $29 billion addition to that. So, no, I don't think a deficit is a good idea. Maybe a deficit prior to a budget, because then you can budget how you're going to pay for it. But to put our children and their children's children in debt is not a good idea. Eventually, the debt has to be paid. Gee, I'm glad I get all the easy ones. Why should you vote for me? I'm a great guy. I'm in this not because I want a political career. I'm in this because I truly, and if you look at my history, I truly believe in service. And I want to give. I want to give back to the community. I never told you before, but my profession is actually, I'm a professional speaker, and I'm also a author. And the topics I speak on are disabilities, inclusion, and diversity. And so those are very, very important things to me. I believe, and if you check your history, in 152 years, guess how many parties have been in power in Canada? Two. I want that to change. I don't know if it'll be this election, but I am honestly, absolutely 100% sure that when people know the party, the People's Party of Canada, what we stand for, and that we are truly interested in Canadians first, that you will vote for me and people who follow me. Thank you.
This issue that I'm going to just mention to you briefly is really a local issue in this riding, Don Valley East and West actually too, but primarily Don Valley East because that's where I reside. But it has implications in that the Liberal government is the only government, and because you are a representative in that government that can do something about this. I was wondering if you could explain to us what you have done to date with regards to the aircraft noise that's been flying over our area for the last 5 years. And I also want to ask you what progress you've made with Minister Garneau in Ottawa, and what you foresee. Are there any positive outcomes on the horizon that we can hold on to in hopes that perhaps we can talk some sense into the people at NAVCAN and get these bloody planes away from our neighborhood? Thank you.
Somebody should take a note of this. I'm actually going to agree with Ms. Ratanzi. After 30 years of serving as a school board trustee, I can assure you that the work of committees is long and extremely complex, and it's not always as easy as reading it off of a paper. I can also tell you that when I was in the Navy several years ago when I had hair, I was an aircraft engine mechanic, and I know it's very, very difficult to reduce noise. And I know the government and previous governments have been working on this issue for a long time. And it probably in time will be worked out, but it's got lots to do with flight path. It's got to do with, you don't want to say, as my colleague here suggests, that you don't have takeoff or landings late at night. Because we have to remember, we have millions and millions of dollars coming into this country from time zones that they can't go over Canada for several hours until the sun comes up that they can land. So it's a very complex issue, and I applaud Ms. Ratanzi actually and for the work that she's done on this.
Everybody for being here tonight. It's great that everybody's celebrating the democratic process, so I congratulate you. My question is about the federal debt and the interest we pay on the federal debt. So as you know, the federal debt is around $800 billion about currently. We pay lots of money on the interest on the debt every year. And that's tax money that goes toward the interest, and that doesn't really see for services that actually help Canadians. It's paying debt. So does your party have a plan to reduce the federal debt so that young people like me do not grow up paying egregious amounts of taxes on interest and eventually paying back this debt? So do you have a plan to reduce the debt and reduce the interest that we pay on it by paying it back? Thank you.
One of the young fellows starts on. Well, the People's Party of Canada, one of the first platform policies that we have is to balance the budget in 2 years. And that sounds almost impossible, but it isn't, because now Ms. Ratanzi will have the figure. The billions and billions of dollars that we give in foreign aid could be reduced substantially. And we would put Canadians first, Indigenous people first, servicing the debt first, and not having future generations be saddled with the money that we spend. Is that my time already?
No, that's my phone.
Have you ever noticed when you're my age, when you're your age, when our age, that how time flies really quickly? That was the fastest 2 minutes I've ever had. But yes, the debt is extremely important. We have to reduce the debt because there are so many things that government, any government, can do if they do not have to pay the interest, as our young gentleman has suggested. So, thank you.
I'm a teacher in this riding, and I know from experience that I have a lot of parents who do not have a decent living wage. They are contract, they are part-timers, they don't have insurance protection, they don't have health coverage, and they don't have secure wage. And I'd like to know what the parties are going to do about guaranteeing a decent living wage.
I can't address all of those issues. However, the one that I can address is I'm intimately familiar with companies who have contractual people, that it's not a fair system. And I think it is something that certainly governments, whether it be the federal government or the provincial government, they absolutely have to look into it. Companies are moving away from hiring employees, and I think that is a bad thing. And the reason they're doing it is because they don't have to put an investment in them. They don't have to pay taxes on them. They don't have to do a lot of things. I'm talking about contract people. Universities started this process a long time ago, and even school boards are doing it now, where they're hiring people on a contract. Why? Because they don't have to pay benefits. And so I think that's wrong, and I would be more than happy to lobby, if I were in the federal government, to lobby the provincial government, because that's their mandate, to look into that and to address that issue. So, but obviously making a livable that's me. Making a livable wage is extremely important to everyone. You'll find fast food companies have come a long way, but they still take advantage of people, particularly older people who get jobs that are paid minimum wage, which isn't enough to get along on. So thank you very much for the question, and I apologize for putting it off onto the provincial government, but it really is their responsibility.